So hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Deep Dive with me, Stephen, and my co-host Tiffany. Now, this week we're talking about the political scene in Singapore because Workers' Party leader Pritam Singh is no longer Singapore's leader of the opposition.
Yeah.
Right?
Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, he has removed Mr. Singh from this role and invited the Workers' Party to nominate another person to take the seat.
Yeah, that's right. And this is all coming on the back of Mr. Singh's court convictions for lying to the Committee of Privileges over whether he had instructed former MP Raisha Khan to come clean about a lie she told in Parliament.
And last week, the House passed a motion to deem Mr. Singh unfit to stand as leader of the opposition.
So what will the next move by the Workers' Party be? What kind of impact will this have on them? Well, to help us with our discussion today, we have with us Associate Professor Eugene Tan from the Singapore Management University
Hi, Steve. Hi, Tiffany. Thank you for having me.
and independent political observer Dr. Felix Tan.
Hi to all of you.
Hey, welcome, guys.
Well, the Workers' Party said that it will deliberate on PM's letter and will respond to the invitation in due course on whether they will take up the leader of the opposition replacement role. I mean, basically nominate someone to take over the seat. But I guess the announcement to remove Mr. Singh really, didn't come as a big surprise, correct? Given that Mr. Singh is also the WP SecGen, will this cause a leadership crisis within the party now that they will have to nominate a new leader of the opposition if they take the invitation on?
I see the party as being rather close-knit. So even whether they do accept the invitation to nominate another elected MP, to be the leader of opposition, I don't think it will cause, any sort of leadership struggle or tension, within the party. I think Pritam Singh's grip on the party is very secure. We saw from the debate on the motion last week, all the WP MPs who were present were clearly behind him. And I think, that in many ways reflect, the party has close ranks and, they are going to go all the way, to protect Mr. Pritam. I'll say protect, but to support him,
Right.
In this particular matter.
Because in a way, he still stays on as a member of parliament. It's just the LO position that he loses. So maybe to help our viewers and listeners understand a bit better, let's have a quick 101, as in the leadership, the role of the leader of the opposition. Why is that significant? What does it mean for them?
I think for one, they do have extra resources that will be given to the leader of the opposition, and they have extra time in Parliament to speak as well on uncertain issues, and of course the first response as well. So I think there are a lot of so-called privileges in that sense given to the LO and not just to any other opposition member of Parliament. So I think that in itself is something to think about, to consider.
Right. And this position is appointed by the Prime Minister, right?
Exactly. I think one thing about it being appointed by the Prime Minister is it's not within the Constitution. So to how official this appointment really is, I think it's still up in the air. But I think I just want to go and say that what's freely given can always be freely taken away. So I think in this instance, that seems to be the situation.
I think there's so many things in there, and I really want to get into it during this podcast. But maybe just as a quick poll, do you guys think that the WP will take up the invitation to put in a new person for the LO position?
My money's that the Workers' Party is unlikely to take it up.
And why so?
Well, I think, first looking at the debate on the motion, I think they strenuously objected, to Mr. Pritam Singh, having, to be removed as the leader of the opposition. I think second, it will enable the party, to be consistent, right, in terms of saying that this is really a political fix-it job. And I think they want to continue that particular narrative, as part of the larger approach of saying that, there were extenuating circumstances, that led Mr. Pritam Singh to do what he did, in terms of letting 2 months to pass, before Ms. Raisa Khan's life was clarified in Parliament. And I think the third reason would be that, it would put them, again, firmly in the eyes of Singaporeans, that they are the underdogs, they are the victims, of a one-party dominant system, and that it becomes important for there to be a more balanced parliament.
So you don't think that they will take up the invitation? Felix, what do you think?
This is not an official title where you run in parliament and then you get a position, So the thing is that there's no necessity for them to do so. Think about this 5 years before as well, before it was given to Pritam Singh as their, they were working fine. They had the support from the people and they were doing their job just as well. And so what is the relevant to the Workers' Party if they take it up? What can they gain from it besides the resources, besides the extra time? Are they any poorer not taking it up? So that's one reason. Second reason, I think, is to stress on the point that the party is behind Pritam all the way, and that, as quote unquote, his conscience is cleared. And I think at the end of the day, we do have to let the voters decide whether they believe in it or not. Like you mentioned earlier, we all know and we knew what the result was going to be. So there's no surprises. So given all that has transpired so far, I don't think there's even a need for the Workers' Party to take it up.
Okay.
What were they going to lose?
I take a slightly different view. I can understand where the Workers' Party would be coming from, but I would certainly hope that they look at the larger picture, right? How can we entrench the role of the opposition in Singapore politics? And I think the leader opposition appointment is a very good platform. Yes, there are a lot of uncertainties. They may not like the way, the appointment, the removal and all, but I still think that, putting that aside, it is a platform that is given the Workers' Party, in particular Pritam, a lot of airtime, a lot of mind share. And I think if he wants to talk about more balanced parliament, that extra airtime, the stronger profile, I think will help their cause. And I think if they look at the bigger picture, I think, if Singapore voters, believe, that there should be a more balanced parliament, I think, it will work well. So yes, it is a setback.
Right.
But I think, there is a lot more to be gained.
And if we really want to recognize our democratic system, in terms of maturity, then should we not institutionalize this leader of the opposition? Why aren't we doing that?
Yeah, I think exactly what you have mentioned over there. Why aren't we institutionalizing it if it's so effective, if it's so beneficial? At the end of the day, you had mentioned earlier on there are more benefits for them, which is true. I wouldn't deny that. But the thing is that if it's not within the Constitution or within Parliament itself, then how much can the role of the LO mean and do? That's one. And secondly, at this moment, the Workers' Party is the largest opposition party. But then if they were to select one, and then in the future there are other opposition party members that come to the fore, then how do you decide who should be the LO?
They can fight it out, right? I guess.
They can fight that, and that will lead to unnecessary drama in Parliament and extra time, which I think the Parliament should focus on more important issues that affect Singaporeans.
But is that extra time that is accorded to the leader of the opposition, does it really move the needle when it comes to, maybe this debates in Parliament, passing bills? Because at the end of the day, before we even had a leader of the opposition, MPs were still, allowed to debate. We still had bills passed, new laws passed, things like that. So really, does it move the needle with that even extra time that is given?
I think it does, right? Because of the prominence, that the leader of opposition has by having that first right of response and having, extra time. So it enables, the leader opposition, to have the same, in a way, the same sort of limelight as the minister, for example, setting up
an agenda.
A proposed law or a proposed policy. I think we must remember that that the government is still trying to develop this office. I think if you go by the practice in the UK, right, where this leader of opposition, in which we are adapting, but we're adapting very, very selectively. The practice is that, the leader of opposition goes to the party with the most number of elected seats, right? So there won't be that competition, as to who should be the leader. But more importantly, in the UK, that opposition party must have contested in enough seats such that if they had won, they would form the government. So in this case,
like a shadow cabinet, so to speak.
Right. So the government in this case has in a way given a concession, right? 10 seats, right? And of course the question is, what's the threshold, right? So I certainly agree that office must be institutionalized. But when you look at the PAP government, they are not going to institutionalize an office, for which they are still trying to understand how it works, how it could work better. I mean, look at the elected presidency, right? We still have provisions, with regard to the entrenchment of the president's powers, that since 1991 have not been brought into force. So I think they're going to exercise care. I don't think it will take as long as another 30 years. But I think, they would want it to let it have, to be clear what is the office supposed to do. And I think this is where the Workers' Party, yes, they wouldn't be in a driver's seat, but they will have another 5 years, in addition to the 5 before, to help to shape the office, to try to not let the PAP government, be able to dictate everything. But since we have the LO office in 2020, and then again, after the GE 2025, I think it'll be very difficult, for the Prime Minister, to take away that particular appointment. Particularly if the Workers' Party is able to keep to the minimum of 10 elected seats.
Right.
Now, of course, if it goes down to 2 seats, then you might say, no basis for a leader. But I think, given that the minimum, what appears to be the minimum threshold was 10 seats, right? I think, so long as any opposition party crosses 10 seats and they are the largest opposition party, I think there will be a leader of opposition. So even as the Prime Minister giveth, right, there are some things that he cannot take away.
Yeah, the number of seats is
So do you think
itself.
Mr. Pritam Singh has shown that this LO position is very necessary from his term so far?
Well, yeah, I think he has made full use of whatever resources that he has been given. So I think it's been so far in his favor, maybe to a certain extent, and he has used it well to help him along. So I think, in that sense, it is helpful for him to take it up. I mean, for him to be the LO or someone to take up the seat of the LO.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it on key issues that Parliament is debating, right? After the government has spoken, right? Everyone sort of waits to see what the leader of the opposition has to say.
That's true.
Right.
And to me, that's actually, the anticipation, right? Which means that, people want to hear what the opposition has to say. And I think that means a lot.
I think we recognize that in our society now, we do want to hear different voices in Parliament, But how much of this is now dependent on the person themselves, Pritam Singh has been, come across as quite he leads with quite a strong hand, so to speak, right? One is asking now who can fill that spot, because otherwise, will they be able to as effectively use that LO position, or will it end up being maybe even a disadvantage to them if not used the correct way?
I think if you look left, look right. Okay, no pun intended over here.
Yeah, he's not in Parliament.
He's not in Parliament. But the whole idea that, to find somebody from the Workers' Party who is at the level of Pritam Singh is quite the challenge.
Really?
It's the way that he's able to sustain the party, to hold on to the members, to reason things out. He has just have that certain sense of charisma, and to look around. Again, look left, look right.
I think I'll look up and down
and
too,
look up
maybe.
and down as well. I think it's going to be hard pressed for the Workers' Party to find someone. I'm not saying that there aren't anyone, who can do the job. But the thing is that given the kind of persona or the personality of Pritam, someone to match that level of energy, that level of support, it's going to be challenging.
So no one to fill the shoes immediately.
Yes, I think he has left big shoes to be filled. I agree with Felix. Pritam is easily, the most charismatic, MP in Parliament, if I can put it that way.
The entire
Very
Parliament?
forceful, very eloquent, and that force of personality. Yes, I think the Workers' Party would be hard pressed to find someone who, at this point in time, to match. But I think, putting that aside, looking at the larger picture, of, again, trying to show that we need a more balanced Parliament, to show that the Workers' Party does have, that depth of capability. Yes, they may not be as eloquent as Pritam, but I don't think we should doubt that, the likes of Dennis Tan or Gerald Giam, yes, they may not be as forceful, having that strength of personality, but I think it's important to just demonstrate that, there is this important role that the opposition play. And I think the way I look at the LO is that it amplifies. Yes, it is correct. Whatever the WP has done before the LO office, was created. Yeah, they continue to do so. But I think the LO office does give them, the amplification, right, which I think will help them, in their quest.
So
for
in
a
that
more
respect,
balanced
even
parliament.
if there is someone who isn't as charismatic as as Pritam Singh, you're saying they should still take up the position, maybe lend their own unique style to it.
Yes, I think people can rise, to the occasion. Right? People can step up. Right?
But I think the main point here is that will they find someone else? It's not that someone can take over. Perhaps they want to do that. But the thing is that do they want to do that? Because the narrative that, in that day's session in Parliament is that his conscience is clear. So I think, they want to go and perhaps, show that sort of solidarity within the party and back Pritam, continue to back him and say that if it's not him, there's no one else.
If we assume that someone does take on the role, right, what are the challenges this new LO will face in Parliament, given everything that has happened during the debate?
Well, I think first, that person will obviously have to deal with comparisons. And of course, then the other would be, how is he or she going to shape, the development of the leader of opposition's office? Can he or she break out of Pritam's shadow, right? And show that the Workers' Party, does have, that they do have a good supply of MPs, who can quite easily step up.
I think a good thing about that, if they are able to find someone to fill the position, is also telling telling Singaporeans that, hey, there are others in the Workers' Party that can be just as effective and do the job as well as as an LO. And I think also give them the opportunity. That is one thing to look at. If we just going to be Pritam for the longest time, then who else is going to take over? Because you can never be able to fill the shoes that he's going to leave behind, whether he's going to leave the position willingly or otherwise. And so the thing is that if you don't give them a chance now, then who is going to do that? And I think thirdly is also to ensure that whoever will take over, will be able to prove himself or herself, credible enough, or at least at that standard for future benefits to the party.
But the thing is, you got to give them a chance, and you are taking a chance. It could go both ways.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, if you look at the experienced MP, so in this case, if you look at Dennis Tan or Gerald Giam, I think they are known entities, right? And no one is going to expect them, to be Pritam Singh number 2, right? They will have to bring their own personalities, but we come back again to the amplification, because that it is possible that if there is no leader of the opposition, right, then there may not be a Workers' Party MP who will be seated directly opposite the Prime Minister.
So optics matters too.
Optics matter, right? And again, trying to get people to say, okay, I want to hear what the opposition is saying. And here we're talking about there's only one opposition party in Parliament, in the 15th Parliament.
Okay.
Yes, they may not like it, to have. They obviously don't like and don't believe that Mr. Pritam Singh should be removed. But I think this is and given that has happened, let's try and see how they can make the best, of
Okay.
a second best situation.
So in a way, the upside you feel from having that position filled, would
Yes,
be
I would encourage them to look
Yeah.
at the glass being half full rather than half empty.
But then
Okay.
I feel like if I'm in that seat, every
Yeah.
time I go into parliament, I feel like I'm going to be facing people who will always kind of circle back whatever argument to
Oh.
the idea that, do you guys as a party, do you guys have enough integrity to, back what you've just
So
said?
the baggage.
So there's always going to be. Do you think the shadow of this whole episode will still be cast upon, Workers' Party as a whole
No,
in
Tiffany,
Parliament?
you raise a fair point, right? But I think voters will get tired.
Okay.
If,
Yeah.
So they'll be like,
if
"Quit,
the
stop
PAP
it."
keeps circling back, to that, right? So you will notice, in the GE 2025 campaign, right, the ruling party hardly referred to the court case, to Raisa
That's true.
Khan, because they know that, voters know about it, right? And they know that they have to let voters decide how they look at those matters. So I don't think, they would circle back, right? When Mr. Lau Chia Kiang handed the reins of the Workers' Party to Pritam Singh, I think many of us felt, maybe Mr. Lau Chia Kiang should stay longer, right? No, but now, look at how Pritam has risen, to the challenge.
But I think that's what, Tiffany, you brought up over there, whether they will be, everything will circle back and question their integrity, for example. That will certainly happen in some form or other. And if you look at the parliament, 2/3 is with the PAP. Seriously, how much do you think the Workers' Party is going to, not be affected by whatever's going to be asked of them? So there will always be that sort of pushback by the PAP on them. And the Workers' Party will need to think of who else is going to do that, to take over that role if they need to go and fill up the position. And I think, importantly, right, I mean, with this position, do they still want to keep Pritam Singh as a SecGen? Or would this new person take over as a SecGen? Or is that a necessity to begin with? Because there's nothing in the Constitution that says that
Right.
the LO has to be the SecGen of the party.
But at the same time, if you're the leader of the opposition, but you're not the leader of your own party,
What
one
signal
would
does
ask.
it send as
But then,
well?
of course, the circumstances as it stands, you see. So again, it can go many, many different ways. Yeah.
Right.
I think we cannot leave this conversation without talking about WP's internal proceedings.
Yep.
Basically, the WP's Central Executive Committee has formed a disciplinary panel, right, to assess if Mr. Singh has contravened any of the party's constitution. How do you think everything that has played out in the last few days, how do you think all of this will affect that assessment, the panel's assessment?
I think it's quite difficult to go and say how much it's going to affect them. They will have to make a decision eventually whether is Pritam is in the wrong, the court ruling is correct, and therefore something has to be done. I think they'll be caught in a bind between the two. So I think, but if you look at those who supported him throughout, they form, I think, the bulk of the CEC. So the decision will still rest on them. If they are supportive of Pritam in the first place, what are the chances or what are the odds that they're going to say that, Pritam is no longer fit to be the SecGen? So I don't see that really happening, and they might not happen unless, of course, Pritam says that he wants to step down.
Step aside. Yeah, I think, the internal proceedings are the one that can potentially do a lot of damage, right? So, for example, if the party demands Mr. Pritam Singh to resign, right, or otherwise be expelled, as was what happened to Leon Pereira, Nicole Sia, and Raisa Khan, that means that they will lose Mr. Pritam Singh, right, and they'll lose that parliamentary seat in Parliament, and there could be implications for Ms. Sylvia Lim as well. I thought the terms of reference were not disclosed to the public, but essentially it states, to see whether Mr. Pritam Singh, has broken the party constitution. Right. I think the way it was framed, right, it's not a question of whether, nothing to refer to the convictions
case,
and all. I don't know. For me, that gives an indication of where, the party might be headed. Right. And of course, as Felix mentioned, you had, the other 10 WP members, I think all of whom are on the CEC,
Right.
indicating their dissent, to that motion. right? I wonder whether, on hindsight, they might have thought that it might be better for them to abstain, to try to keep up this idea that because we are going to make the decision eventually,
I think we all know it's a bit like what we call in Singapore own self check own self, right?
Yes, this is something that will come back to, we can be sure the ruling party will ask, is this a situation where the WP is checking it own self and whether the process are, whether it is actually as rigorous as it ought to be.
Because it's very clear there's no incentive for them to want to lose any parliamentary seats, right? There's no upside to that. So one would imagine, why would you even hit down that path, you see?
What do you think will happen to Miss Sylvia Lim and Mr. Faisal Manap, within WP? Do you think they would, at some point, WP will also begin a disciplinary process for them? Once they
I think that answers it.
The
smile and the laughter is...
I think that will be right, because they will have a parliamentary motion.
Yes.
Yeah, apparently.
Especially on them.
Yes.
Right? Probably as soon as in February.
Okay.
Right, before the budget.
Yes.
If they are sanctioned by Parliament, then they could raise the question, of whether they might be subjected to the party's internal disciplinary process, right? But I think what will happen to Pritam, will in many ways set the direction and set the tone, right? And any action that will be taken, if any, right, that will be taken against Sylvia and Faisal Manap, that will only come after the case concerning Mr. Pritam Singh has been disposed, of by the party.
Yeah, I think likely there will be some form of trickle-down effect,
Yeah.
at the end of the day. What's going to happen to Pritam, in within the party itself, might have some effect as well. The motion, Indrani Raja has already stated that very clearly. Next up is going to be Sylvia
Right.
and Faisal. So I think it's clear-cut, but whether it will be in February before the budget and overshadows the budget, I think, I do not know, whether they want to do that or not. And then
I think they want to clear it before the budget.
Right.
Yeah.
So Parliament will sit before the budget, and of course they will sit during for the budget
For the
statement.
budget, yeah.
But I think they want to clear the deck because they want the
Fresh
focus
start.
then
Yeah.
to be on the budget.
How will people on the street look at this? Will they just say, oh no, it's PAP coming in, bullying their way again? I mean, will this have any kind of blowback on them?
No, I think that there certainly will be people who will look at it, that this is really, the ruling party using its parliamentary majority, to hit at the opposition, where they couldn't do it during the general election. But I think there will also certainly be fair-minded Singaporeans, who will look at it as, this is an attempt to set minimum standards. That this is something that we would want, of our elected officials, right? So whatever was said in Parliament, by the ruling party MPs and especially by Leader of the House, Indrani Raja, applies equally to the PAP MPs and especially the political office holders, right? So there will be, that so-called blowback, right? Or you'll come back to haunt them, right? If the PAP doesn't conform, to those high standards, right? Or they be accused of double standards. So I think, looking at it from a systemic base point of view, I would say that, much as, people might want to look at it from that is politicking, I think it was something that was necessary, right? Because if the lie hadn't been perpetuated, right, we wouldn't have, this particular matter, dragging on, right? The issue would have ended, with Ms. Raisa Khan being dealt with, and it will end there.
Yeah, but it seems as if they are flogging the dead horse. It's over and over again. Enough. I think Singaporeans can
4 years,
realize
more
that
than
it's
4
like 4
years.
years, right?
No, but they're
Move
not
on.
flogging. But they're not flogging a dead horse, right? Because you had these are outstanding matters, from the Committee of Privilege report, right? These are matters that Parliament would be remiss if they didn't go back to them. Right, because the court case is a separate thing, right?
Yep.
So I think it's, I think we can talk about jobs and cost of living and all, but if Parliament as an important political institution in Singapore loses the respect, trust, and confidence of Singaporeans, I think we will not be able to move as one, or that people will think that Parliament can do
Okay.
the right thing with regard to all these bread and butter concerns.
Yeah, but I don't think that Singaporeans are questioning the integrity of Parliament or how it's functioned, or whether, I think a lot of times we do say that, there is certain level of honesty, there's a certain level of standards that we expect for a member of Parliament, and if they crosses that boundary, we know, we can see, we can tell. And I think, this one just stated up front, and what is the sole purpose at the end of the day that, people are gonna ask, ultimately is we never doubted that, it's all about being honorable, being honest,
Yeah.
and it's all about your integrity, as an elected member of Parliament.
For me, it just makes it makes a very exciting Parliament to watch.
Thanks so much for coming in. I guess, we will see that. Time will tell, truly. Time will
Yeah,
tell how
yeah.
things will turn out. Thanks for staying with us and watching Deep Dive, and we hope you join us again next week. But on that note, it's bye for now. That's it.
Bye.